Hey me che chopi, hey me che chopi, ta na wa ji, ta na wa ji.
My name is Adam Subject. I'm Lands Director for Sioux Valley Dakota Nation. We wanted to get an event together where we had all the people who are trying to work towards food sovereignty and food security for Indigenous nations. I think everyone can agree we're starting to see the effects of climate change. That has a huge impact on food security and food sovereignty, helping to relieve some of the high prices and stress that's on some of these folks who are trying to raise their families. When you're a part of something like that, it makes you feel proud, helping people come together in a good way to get back to those traditional ways of farming and agriculture. We're trying to get the youth trained in cooking and how to make stuff on the open flame the old way. We're doing a bison harvest. All these things are like the traditional ways of the Dakota, but at the same time, I think it's emergency preparedness.
My community really makes it good and easy for that switch into traditional to be able to learn it. There's a lot of opportunities to make teepees and stuff as teepee poles are coming in, a lot of language teachings, so there's a lot of opportunity to learn language there. And I really hope we all learn language. My Dakota teacher, when I was growing up, she would always used to say how it's being lost because of how much youth isn't learning it and how much of our elders are passing away. We live here and we belong here, and I just don't want to lose that.
I've been learning a lot more on how to do teepees, and something I've always really liked learning, and just learning more of traditions. A lot of our elders are leaving us. I think it's important for youth to know how to do it too.
The event is kind of a cross-venture to bring back some teachings to our younger people. Things from food to culture, different teachings that are important for us as Dakota people. This is how we passed on knowledge. We passed on protocol. We passed things on through hands-on, so to speak, right? In our language, we would call it wo'inina. Wo'inina is to pay attention, so you're watching, you're listening, and then you're doing. I find that today's world we live in, society moves very fast. It's a very fast-paced world we live in. Whereas for us, Dakota people as a tribal nation, things didn't really go by time. Things were done according to seasons, according to the moon, the stars, and how they align. By doing these things out here with the youth and having our older ones around with that knowledge, it's a chance for generations to connect. It's a chance for people to come together and share teachings from the past that may help a young person going forward.
How to shoot a bow and arrow at some targets, to hunt like how we used to hunt, I guess. It works, it's efficient, clearly. I just like to have more knowledge, to be able to share it eventually. I think that's pretty cool. I hope to be able to share it one day, because who else is going to do it, right? Eventually they're going to be gone and no one else is going to be able to share their knowledge, so may as well learn it while they're still here.
I think one of the things that we need to realize, not only for us as Dakota people, but for everybody in general, because some of these teachings that we have been passed on for generations and generations, for hundreds of years. Those things helped us survive. Those things helped us get us to where we are here today.
If a climate change disaster was to happen, you'd have a little youth warrior group that knew how to feed themselves and could help the elders. And so that's what this camp's about. It's about educating our youth, but more importantly, for me, it's about empowering our youth. It's the elders, it's the wisdom, it's the guidance, it's teaching you the language. All these things help us to be connected. And one of the Dakota teachings is that everything is interconnected and that we live together with the planet. We don't dominate the planet.
My name is Dakota Tachin. I'm from the Sioux Valley Dakota Nation. I am one of the herdsmen for our buffalo program. We've had buffalo now for years and years, and we've been lucky enough to have 16 white buffalo. We harvest a few every year. We try and keep our community completely involved in it, using every part of the buffalo that we can. The buffalo used to give us all our foods, our medicines, our housing, our clothes. Now we're at a point in history where the table's kind of turned and we got to look after the buffalo now. With groceries going up and stuff like that, we don't know what's going to happen in the future. Governments are very unpredictable. So we try and keep our herd healthy. We try and teach people how to cook our buffalo, how to pray with them, how to harvest them, cut everything we can do, especially now that we're starting a gardening station in our community as well. That's going to pair good with our buffalo as well. So I think it just gives us that sovereignty, right? It's a good feeling knowing that we don't really need to rely on outside people right now for our food. If worst comes to worst, we can always look after ourselves and look after our own, just the way it's always been in history.
My name is James Pratt. Some people call me historian. I don't know if I'm a historian, but what I do is Dakota research. When I was growing up, when I was younger, we all had gardens. Everybody had community gardens. And that's what we're trying to teach all our kids right now. The lands has all these different activities that they plan that has to do with the lands, the elders, etc., etc. And what we do is I include my students in everything that in everything we do with the lands. I'm a high school teacher. There's employment for my students, summer student jobs. So one day they'll be working, the fields. Another day they'll be doing drones. And we just had our camp here, and it was really good. They were all participated, and they're employed too. So it was really good. It was a good turnout. Right now we're going to get into geothermal, and we're going to make a massive community garden, so that we'll be self-sustaining, so that we don't have to worry about go to Brandon, half an hour away just to get lettuce or anything like produce. Where we will be self-sustaining, where they will produce everything.
Real busy doing a lot of work around here, working with the trees, doing all these fields. It's been tough going, but come harvest time, when we drop the plants off at the health center, see the old Kushis and Gus smiling, that makes it all worth it, eh? Knowing that, they're gonna have some good soup.
We're getting into beehive keeping and going to be training people for that. We only have 1% left of our original grasslands. So what I'll do with the students, we take them up to the hill over here, and we're getting all these different seeds for the wildflowers and plants and everything, and we're going to replant them, and it'll make it into original grasslands. We'll replant all that into original state, what it was before. So self-sustainability, and everybody's getting into it now. We're actually making housing that's actually built around that. Food sovereignty. We're actually going to plant trees, fruit trees. Every house is actually have their own community garden.
It's important to learn our culture, because if we don't take in as much as we can, then our culture could just become extinct, and we'll be known just in history and not as a real life thing. Having our own garden here is a really good idea, because if something bad were to happen, like say the city got flooded and there's no food or grocery stores to go into, then we have our own livestock here to grow food and all that. And we can just pick here, eat here, and we can just live off of here instead of off of other places.
Been nothing but a pleasure working closely with the National Circle of Indigenous Agriculture and Food. Been just an incredible thing we've been able to do here in the last 3 or 4 days for the FACTS camp. Food, agriculture, climate change, and traditional synergies. I think we're able to capture a real good blend of what type of abilities that the NCIAF can contribute to community. It's not about what your organization has, it's about who they have, and just incredible people over there. So I'm really happy to be working closely with them. I can't wait to see what we can accomplish in the near future, especially considering we want to get our youth into the capacity building and into those important positions as our agricultural program goes into the future. So if we could couple that alongside traditional growing methods of the Dakotas, and we allow these other partnerships to flourish, I believe we can achieve food sovereignty and food security, which is incredibly important for Indigenous nations.
Wa